think Stephen Fulton is going to be able to match that pace coming into this fight. I think Stephen Fulton is going to get... What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. So we got up here going down this weekend, the co-main event for Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu. It is Stephen Fulton versus Liam Wilson. Now, honestly, I think this is stylistically a good matchup for both fighters coming into this fight. But before we get any further into the video, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications when you guys want to see when I upload new videos. Comment down below who you guys got winning between Stephen Fulton, Liam Wilson by knockout, decision. Let me know if you guys disagree with this. And without any further ado, we are going to get into the video. And so, we look at Stephen Fulton's last few fights, and we look at his last win back in, I think it was like February of 2025. I think he reclaimed his world title back at Featherweight, beating Brandon Figueroa for a second time. Which, you know, if we look back at the fight, he looked very impressive. He looked very dominant in that fight, and so I think it was the worst. I think it was a very bad beating from Brandon Figueroa. Then, you know, he moved. You know, as you may know, he moved up to 130. Ended up moving 2 weight classes because he missed weight against O'Shaquie Foster. And he got pretty dominated by him. And that may seem like that's not a bad problem, because that's O'Shaquie Foster. And O'Shaquie Foster is one of the best 130 pounders in the world right now. But majority of O'Shaquie Foster's fights, he has a lot of close fights. His most recent fight with Raymond Ford was a pretty close fight. Had a pretty close fight with Ibrahim Noria, where he most recently fought Raymond Ford. So he's had a lot of close decisions before, and it's just concerning to me on how Stephen Fulton just couldn't make it competitive. And a few things that I've seen from him at 130 is that, because at 126, and I'm not mistaken, he was a former super bantamweight champion as well. His jab was, when he was using that jab a lot, it was hard to kind of read him a little bit, because he would always set up the punch with the jab, so you wouldn't kind of know what's coming next. Like, I know Inoue did that, because that's Inoue. Inoue is arguably the pound for pound #1 right now. So so losing Inoue wasn't bad. But I just thought, because I thought Fulton, personally, I thought Fulton was going to beat Foster. I just thought that Fulton had the better jab. He was the more dominant fighter. He wasn't, and Foster is kind of a little bit hesitant sometimes throughout the fight. But, you know, it just didn't go for Stephen Fulton's way, and it's just a problem here, because Liam Wilson, he's quite beatable, man. But he's only lost to the top, getting knocked out by Emmanuel Navarrete, which, you know, you can't really look back at the fight and say too much, because Emmanuel Navarrete, my opinion, is the best 130 pounder in the world, and possibly one of the top 10 best pound for pound fighters in the world. Mind you, Liam Wilson took the fight on short notice. But then, you know, got knocked out by Oscar Vazquez, which isn't necessarily bad. I know Oscar Vazquez currently is one of the best 130 pounders right now. But at one point, at that time, he was. So, you can't really complain. But his last 2 performances, though, he knocked both his opponents out in the 4th round. And a few things that I like to look back at those performances, that he was more heavily on that jab in that fight. And listen, his jab he has a decent jab. It's like a 7.5, possibly an 8. But it's a solid jab. Is it better than Stephen Fulton's? Not necessarily. I just thought, for what I've seen in that fight with O'Shaquie Foster, that his jab was quite slower at 130, even though it wasn't at 130. But yet again, he did miss weight in that fight, and this will be taken. And I feel like this should be taking place at a catch weight, though, in my opinion. Because I don't think that I'm kind of concerned for Stephen Fulton on making 130. But if he has a good nutritionist that can help him make the weight, then yeah, and of course, for sure, it'll definitely be good for him. But it's just, I think at 126 he was pretty. Listen, and that's the wildest thing. I didn't really think that Stephen Fulton was a big featherweight like that. He was big, but he wasn't like oh, he's too big for his weight class. He was decently sized. And then when I found out that he missed weight before the fight with O'Shaquie Foster, it was kind of like, it kind of shocked me, because it's like, you're not that big of a 126 guy. I think what happened was, possibly could have happened in that fight, was that he put a little bit too much weight on him, and then when he had to cut, and then he tried to, and I think he's put a little bit too much muscle weight, and it kind of just made him a little bit slower, maybe, or maybe he just didn't have a good weight cut or a good training camp. Who knows? But listen, a few things that I like from Liam Wilson is that Liam Wilson has a decent jab, but he has a good lead left hook. Like, that left hook is nasty. In his last fight, with that brutal body shot, man, he finished that guy very clean. And that's just concerning. Like, if this was prime Stephen Fulton, I probably would just go with Stephen Fulton, hands down. But Liam Wilson, I feel like after those two losses that he had to Emmanuel Navarrete, to Oscar Valdez, he definitely has improved. At one point he was just an aggressive fighter who just, pushes the pace until you get to knock him out. But like, now he's more of a technical guy. He kind of just waits and finds that chin, or just kind of, goes with the flow, is patient, not too frustrated. Liam Wilson's kind of a better fighter. Now, in that case, will he beat Oscar Valdez in a rematch or Navarrete? Maybe Oscar Valdez, but Navarrete, nah, absolutely not. And if I'm not mistaken, this fight with Stephen Fulton is a WBA title eliminator. If I'm not mistaken, the person who holds the WBA belt currently, if I'm not mistaken, is Anthony Gachechi. I could be wrong. I could just be wrong. But yeah. I think Stephen Fulton needs to be a little bit heavy on that jab coming into this fight. I feel like he just needs to be I feel like when he sees that, when he sees Liam Wilson, because sometimes fighters, what they do is that they just kind of just walk into Stephen Fulton's punches, because Stephen Fulton doesn't really hit the hardest. So I feel like what Stephen Fulton needs to do, he needs to make Liam Wilson respect the power coming into this fight. That's one thing that he needs to do. And a few things that I've seen, obviously, I feel like at 130, I feel like Stephen Fulton I don't know how good Stephen Fulton would do at 130, knowing that he already missed weight when he fought Foster. If he fights at I feel like that's the choice he had. You either had like two choices. Oh, I fight at 130, or I go to 135. At 130, if he even beats William Wilson, wouldn't be as so bad, and he has to avoid fighting like Foster or Gachechi. Well, maybe not Gachechi. If he's gonna fight Gachechi, if he beats William Wilson, but like Foster and Navarrete, those are the two people I just got to avoid. Or he could have fought at 135 and fought like the big dogs like Lamont Roach, Raymond Mortara, Floyd Schofield, Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes. That Ukraine guy who lost to Keyshawn Davis, and also beat Navarrete at 135. William Zepeda. I think that would have been a dangerous task if he stood at 135, because he would have lost to all of those fights. So I think he's more safer, just a little bit at 130 to what he is at 135. But a few things I think that Liam Wilson needs to do in this fight, because one thing that he's good at is that left hook is one of his biggest weapons. The left hook to the body, the left hook to the head. He knows how to mix it up very well. And he has a good lead straight to back it up. And he has a decent jab to follow up with that straight that could definitely help him a lot in that fight. But now, what do I got winning this fight? I'm going to be very real with you guys. I'm going to go with the underdog and Liam Wilson. I think Liam Wilson, stylistically, in my opinion, is going to be a pretty bad night here for Stephen Fulton. Is it going to be as bad as him losing to Foster? No, I see him winning a few rounds. I just don't, because sometimes what Liam Wilson does throughout fights, that Liam Wilson likes to He has that type of thing where his defense is definitely something that needs to be worked on. But like sometimes he has that pace where he's aggressive, but very aggressive that sometimes the opponents needs to have that same aggressiveness that he has. I just don't think Stephen Fulton is going to be able to match that pace coming into this fight. I think Stephen Fulton is going to get knocked out in the 6th, 7th, or 8th round coming into this fight. But that's going to be the end of the video, you guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications when you guys want to see when I upload. Comment down below. Who do you guys got winning? Stephen Fulton or Liam Wilson by knockout or decision? Comment down below if you guys disagree with my prediction in this fight. And thank y'all for 129 subscribers. I appreciate all you guys subscribing. If you guys haven't already, like I said, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see y'all in the next one. I'm out. Peace.